When the guardrails at the US Department of Justice began to disappear, it didn't happen all at once. It happened quietly, methodically. An erosion of the internal system built in the wake of Watergate scandal to safeguard impartial justice, to ensure the mighty hand of the state would not be wielded for factional or political ends. At the heart of this decay was the Public Integrity Section, PIN, in the DOJ's Criminal Division, a unit created to prosecute public official corruption regardless of party, branch of government, or status. That unit is now a hollow shell, and with it, one of the cornerstones of federal integrity enforcement has been dismantled. In the decades after Watergate, Congress and successive attorneys general built formal accountability systems inside the Department of Justice, the Office of Professional Responsibility, and the Office of the Inspector General, the internal guardrails designed to keep prosecutors honest, independent, fair. Brennan Center for Justice. Alongside those formal mechanisms, informal norms developed. Career attorneys accustomed to non-partisan enforcement, the doctrine that a prosecutor seeks truth and not victims, to serve the law and not factions. Brennan Center for Justice. The Public Integrity Section stood as a vital safeguard. It reviewed and initiated major corruption investigations involving public officials, provided a gatekeeper against politically motivated prosecutions, and carried institutional memory and independence. Yet, under the current administration of Donald Trump, those guardrails began to vanish. The Public Integrity Section lost its authority to initiate new cases and to approve prosecutions of members of Congress and other senior officials. Reuters. Its staffing plummeted from more than 30 attorneys to fewer than 5, with reports anticipating a winnowed team of only 2 or 3. Reuters. The unit that once served as a check on abuse of power is today barely functional. Investigations that formerly required PIN's oversight migrated to U.S. attorney offices with less structural immunity to political pressure. AP News. What happened? It began with leadership shifts and reassignment of career attorneys. Early in the transition, the acting head of the Public Integrity Section, a 23-year DOJ veteran appointed in the first term of the Trump presidency, was ordered to transfer to a new working group focused on immigration enforcement, and resigned rather than comply. Reuters. Soon after, several senior prosecutors in PIN resigned in protest when they were ordered to drop corruption charges against a public official, the mayor of New York City. The scene spurred resignations rather than compliance with leadership's directive. Brennan Center for Justice. The message was unmistakable. The institutional independence that had once undergirded the unit was no longer guaranteed. At the same time, top-level appointments and structural changes within DOJ signaled a shift away from enforcement of public corruption and toward priorities aligned more directly with the political agenda of the moment. According to internal documents and interviews, the Justice Department suspended or eliminated oversight functions that had been critical to reducing prosecutorial bias. It placed political loyalists and personal associates of the president into key enforcement roles, including one working group described as a weaponization working group to monitor investigations of the president's allies and adversaries alike. Reuters. With the Public Integrity Section neutered, the department effectively removed a major institutional break against investigations that might reflect partisan or personal motivations rather than impartial law enforcement. What are the consequences of this dismantling? First, the field of public official corruption enforcement loses coherence. when the specialized unit that reviewed and initiated such cases is weakened, the likelihood increases that certain investigations will proceed without the same level of independent review, making it more difficult to guard against politically selective enforcement. For decades, the PIN offered a measure of uniformity and insulation from local or office-specific pressures. Without it, local U.S. attorney offices may be more vulnerable to influence or to perceptions of influence from political leadership. Second, the knock-on effects ripple into the broader culture of the department. The departure of career attorneys and the reassignment of ethics overseeing personnel convey a shift in values. Where once the norms of independence, impartiality, and duty held sway, now the threat of reassignment or career damage looms for prosecutors who step out of line. A DOJ memo that any attorney who refused to sign a brief defending the administration's position could be disciplined underscores the chilling effect. Brennan Center for Justice. Third, the larger rule of law suffers when the public cannot reasonably assume that investigations or prosecutions of public officials are driven by an objective facts and law inquiry rather than by politics. Judicial opinions are beginning to reflect this concern, noting that the presumption of regularity the government has historically enjoyed is eroding when the department's credibility is questioned. Brennan Center for Justice. Finally, the dismantling of the PIN represents a philosophical shift. Enforcement of public corruption is no longer treated as an independent institutional priority that transcends partisan agendas. Instead, cases may be shaped by political considerations, deciding who is in, who is out, who gets prosecuted, who gets pardoned. Reports indicate that several individuals convicted by PIN cases under prior administrations have received pardons from the president, and that the DOJ redirected resources away from foreign corruption investigations and other long-standing efforts. Reuters. The protective structure for public integrity, once considered sacrosanct, is now viewed as expendable. To understand the change is to understand the guardrails that existed, professional ethics requirements binding DOJ attorneys, internal checks like the Office of Professional Responsibility and the Inspector General, the careers service protections, the merit system that sustained non-partisan enforcement. Brennan Center for Justice. Those guardrails were not inviolable, but they functioned. They gave prosecutors and the public confidence that federal criminal enforcement of public official misconduct would be handled with fairness and not favoritism. With those guardrails removed, the margin for discretion grows wider and less visible. The potential for abuse rises. The dismantling of the public integrity section signals more than an organizational change. It marks a turning point in how the justice system of the federal government views its role in policing public officials. When the unit that exists to deter corruption is hollowed out, when its independence is compromised, what remains is enforcement that is more susceptible to influence, to bias, to selective justice. And without strong oversight, career staff, or guardrails to protect impartiality, the Department of Justice shifts from being the impartial enforcer of the law to, potentially, an instrument of power. The implications for democracy are profound. The integrity of elected officials, the trust of the governed, the perception of fairness in how power is exercised all depend on enforcement institutions that are independent. When one of the key institutions for ensuring that independence is dismantled, the entire architecture of accountability tilts. What once was a check on power becomes vulnerable to capture by power. If the Department of Justice is to recover its role as a neutral arbiter and guardian of public integrity, The guardrails must be rebuilt. The public integrity section must be restored to adequate staffing, resourced, empowered to initiate and review cases independently, and insulated from political direction. Career prosecutors must be protected from reassignment or retaliation for refusing orders that conflict with law or ethics. Internal oversight officers must be restored and empowered to hold even senior officials accountable. Only then can the institution regain the public's trust and perform the role it was entrusted to carry. Until that happens, however, the dismantling of the public integrity section remains a warning sign. The erosion of institutional checks, the diminution of independent enforcement, the concentration of prosecutorial power in politically aligned hands. These are not mere managerial changes, but structural choices with dangerous consequences for the rule of law. The dismantling of these internal safeguards is not just a bureaucratic issue. It is the quiet corrosion of democracy's immune system. A healthy republic relies not only on elections, but on a functioning infrastructure of law, ethics, and accountability to survive the tides of partisanship. Without the public integrity section serving as an incorruptible referee, political figures may come to believe they can act with impunity, weaponizing the very institution meant to restrain them. The slow collapse of that belief in impartial justice plants cynicism in the public mind, and cynicism, once rooted, is far harder to reverse than corruption itself. The lesson of Watergate, that unchecked power inevitably abuses, is being unlearned before our eyes. Unless those lessons are restored in practice and in structure, the Department of Justice will remain unmoored, and the guardrails that once kept it on the road to integrity will stay rusted in the ditch.